This video looks at setting up a new project from the beginning and adding in your detail of the project, your clients, contacts, your design team, your inspection plan and your work stages. So the system actually brings you through those steps initially, and you can always come back then later on and add or take away from those steps. So what you would do, you would click on the option of new project up here, and if you click on the new project, then you type in the project number that you want to call it, and you then put in the project name. So for this one I'll just throw in BCAR, and BCAR is the client name. You can fill out the rest of the detail there. I'm going to skip all of that for the moment and just jump to the design team role and name. So the design team role and name are there, so you can set up different roles for the job that you're working on. So if it is an SI9 BCAR project, you can put in all the science certifier, design certifier, ancillary certifier roles, main contractor, and we'll put in fire mechanic there as well. If there's a role that doesn't come up on this list, you can always add a new role. A pop-up box appears where you can put in the description and the initials. There are default initials for all of these roles here, so the initials box is then, you don't need to really change it. You don't need to add anything into that unless you want to put in your own bespoke initials for the roles on the left hand side, but you'll know in terms of the initials AC, DC, ANC, MCON, that type of thing. The initials are important for the inspection plan in terms of adding in design team members onto your inspection plan. So you don't actually have to add them in, but if you are going to a bit of detail where you want to add those roles in, you're adding in the initials rather than typing out the whole design team role. Now how you actually put in people against those roles is you click on the drop downs underneath the name column, and the name column then is pulling from your contacts. So at the start of a setup, what we'll usually do is we'll ask you for a contact space if you want to actually pull it into the system. If you send it to us on any type of file, we can import it usually and set it up on the Architect Pro account. If there's new users, you can always just add the new user as well, new user on the contact space here or within the project. If you do add it in within the project, that gets automatically added to the overall contacts list as well. So if I just click on that and start adding in people there, so you can see I'm just picking from my contacts there. If it's a new person, add new contact. I can put in, say I want to put in Grant O'Neill, and I want to put in an email there for Grant. I can put in other details, but I'll leave the rest blank for the moment. Click on save, and Grant gets added in there as the fire mechanic. Now you can add in an option there of external upload folders. It's really to do with the external contributors, so I'll pop it in just to show you. If you are using the external contributors page, and it's just set up that if people do send you information, that they can send you information into specific folders through an external link. And again, I'll explain that in a little bit more detail on, I'll actually do a video on external contributors, and that's where the external upload folders will come into play. So if you want to have a look at that video, check it out to see what the tender and construction folder means in terms of external contributors. You can put in the project type. You can put in if it's a new build, a refurb, conservatory, extension or other. You can put in a project leader, so if there's a couple of people working in the office and you want to set it that a certain person in the office is responsible for this project. And then this is just a bit of dummy information that we put in ourselves. If there's any information that you want to add in separate to any of that, so if there's anything that you kind of keep a track of in your office and it's not on any of these lists here, you can type that in the background and that'll appear here. And if you want to see how to do that, there's actually a video on that, which is adding data to project list and overview pages, so you can check that out. I'm just going to pop into the sector here that is a educational job. So then I can come in and I can also put in the client contact details from first name all the way through, and then if I am using the invoicing system, I can pop in that the project payment terms are say 30 days or 60 days or whatever it may be. When I click on save details, the system is going to bring me straight into the work stages, and then once I add my work stages, it'll bring me straight into the inspection plan. And then basically your project is set up, you're able to go off and start using the account to make use of Architect Pro. So as always, you can always go back and you can always add or take away details, but if I do click on Save Details, as I said, it will bring me to the work stages. So there's 3 different groupings on this particular account. So there's A, CE, and there's the RIAI work stages. If you don't want to use any of those 3 groupings, you can always just click New Work Stage, and you can put in a description, a fee, and the order. So by order, it's just if you want it to appear first, you put in 1. If you want it to appear second, you put in 2, so on, so on. I'm not going to use the new work stage. I'm going to use one of the default options. So if I was to click on the RIAI work stages, for example, the stages then pop in from inception and general services all the way through to operations on site and completion. So if I wanted to then put in a fee against each one of those and a projected cost, it'll actually calculate a profit margin. So I think every user at the moment at least pops in a fee. Not everybody will be projecting the cost. Now the cost is projected based on the amount of hours that people think they're going to be working on within the job, and how you add information into these different stages. If you just click on the edit beside each one, that box appears again. You can see there's the order there for that one. If I was to put in, say, 5,000, and then you'll see here that there's a number of different user types from architect all the way through down to senior associate. So these are just default user types that I've put in, and if you want to see where you get any of that information, there's a video on login hours, and you'll get that info from that, and it'll show you exactly where these user type ratings are being pulled from. So they actually are just coming from the settings page, but if I wanted to come in and put in hours against that, I can say okay, that there's 10 hours there by the architect, there's 15 hours there by the director, and there's 12 hours by the senior associate. You can ignore the test and check for the moment. I click on save, you'll put in there the fee, it'll project the cost, and then the profit margin for yourselves. So the projected cost is based on the hours being worked by the different people within the office, and each one of these user types has a hourly rate against that. So the architect, director, and senior associate would have different rates. So once I fill that out and I want to add in all my details, I can then move on. So you'll notice there that I've updated all the fees. I put in some projected hours on the outline proposals as well, and I can click save and continue. So essentially, once all of that is set up in terms of my login hours, the notional spend will be put in against the actual fees, so you'll see how well or how badly you're doing against those, and then you can check all that information out in the reporting section. And then the ones where you have a projected cost with allocated hours, you can then check logged hours versus allocated hours as well. And again, that's on the reporting section, and there is a video on the YouTube channel on that, so make sure to check that out if you want to see more detail on that. If I click save and continue, then it brings me into my inspections page. So this pop-up box will appear, and where that's being brought from is if I just close that. Initially, when you come into an inspection plan, it'll always be blank, there won't be anything there, and you click on the option to add inspections, and that pop-up box will appear. And then if you want to use a template, there you can select a template. You can add in a brand new one if you want. You can start to type in, there's a number of default stages you can use. You can type in the detail. Now I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to delete all here and click on add inspections, and I'm going to select a template. So there's a number of different templates that we've set up on this account. On every single account that is set up, we'll have default commercial and default residential. So I just to click on one of them there, click on import, it'll bring me to a similar kind of page there, but it'll have the information pre-filled. And again, if I want to change that, I can add in different stages. If I want to add in new stages altogether, I click on manage stages there. I can type in exactly what I want to type in. I can save that, and then I can move it up or down within the stage system there, and then I can click on save just to make sure that the stage name does save. Now, if I want to get back into it, I'll show you how to do that. But you can edit the inspection plan as much as you want at this moment in time, and then if you need to come back later, you can always come back and change any bit of information. The other details on the right hand side then in terms of witness and notice is just if you want to hold an inspection point and you want to put on 6 days notice, for example, basically the contractor has to give you 6 days notice before they actually go through with carrying out a certain part of the inspections. You can put in preliminary dates if you're working as the assigned certifier. You can put in preliminary dates, or if you're working as an ancillary certifier and the assigned certifier is asking you for your dates in terms of your inspection plan, you can add that in. Your options then are the plus sign just to add in a new project, or sorry, a new line, inspection line. You can move those up or down, and then you can delete them as well. So if I just wanted to get rid of that, it gets rid of that. If I want to get it back, I want to click on say commencement, and I want to pop in say test, and I want to move that up, and that becomes the first one there. So I click on save. That's your inspection plan set up. There you can see my new step test is after being added in. If I want to edit any of that, I just go to edit inspection plan and go to steps and stages, and then I want to get rid of that test one, click on save, and then test has been removed from this account. So that's a basic overview of how you would set up your inspections and your project initially. So if you go back to the project overview page, you have all the details, you have the design team. Now I didn't add in some details here in terms of site address or brief description. If I want to come back and add in any more details, I just go back to the edit project page, and that'll bring me back to this page here, so I can add or take away as I need to. And that's a basic overview. So you're ready now. You've set up your project, you've set up your design team, you've set up your work stages. You can then log hours against your work stages, and the inspection plan is set up. So I suppose the next move then is to start logging hours against your work stages. Against your work stages, and also to start going out on site and using the app. You can check out some of the videos on the app, and that'll go through where you get that information from. But essentially, the project and the inspection plan and the design team members, so these people here, all of their information is all sent into the app with the project. So you click on the project, you open it up, you have a project overview page as such, and it'll show you certain items there that you need to see. If you want to click on a person's number or details, it'll pop down their number and their email. And again, you can do this on the app, and then you can click into the inspections on the app, and it'll open up this inspection plan for you. So the last thing, I will just quickly go to my projects and go to log hours, and I want to pick that new project 201703 BCAR, and I've clicked on that. I can then pick the stage that I want to log hours against, inception and general services. I can then type in if I want to put in a bit more detail, and if I am billing hours, I can click on not billable. Now if you're not billing hours, you can just click on a button in the back office, or sorry, in the settings page within Architect Pro to not have that show up. So if I was to quickly go to settings, scroll down to use non-billable hours, untick, click save details, go back to my login hours and click on 2017 BCAR, and you can see the not billable option is gone. So I can put in task again, and you can see the expenses there, so you can see exactly hours allocated against your different stages and hours logged. So if I wanted to then click on say 4 hours and put in today's date, I'm logged in as Jeff at the moment, that'll log the 4 hours. If I was to go back to that project again and click on that expenses, I can see that 4 hours have been logged against the allocated hours, and I can see the hours that have been logged against that, which stage. So there's an overall view. So that gives you a brief idea how to use the system in terms of logging hours and going through your project from a BCAR perspective.